Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. I am here as always to help you break down the NBA DFS slate for this evening on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We have a massive 10-game slate tonight. I'm going to try to go game by game. It's going to be tough. We got to go quick. There is a lot of news to cover. A lot of teams on back-to-backs, so some of the injury reports are not out yet. But I'll do my best to kind of highlight the situations we need to keep an eye on. As always, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. That helps us get more free content like this out to you on a daily basis. Also, if you're not a member of Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. You get access to the model you see here, which I'll be using throughout the video. We have a single lineup builder, multi lineup builder, also a private Discord server where you get access to our DFS pros who can help you improve your game. There is a 30-minute window leading up to each slate's lock where you could ask your lineup and slate specific questions as well. So, enough with the pleasantries today. We only have so much time. I'm going to do my best to get into this 10-game slate and do it quickly. So, looking at the injury report here, the first game on the slate we have are the Pacers at the Orlando Magic. Scrolling. We have the Pacers as 6-point underdogs on the road in Orlando, which isn't the most surprising thing to see. But at the same time, the fact this Magic team is a heavy favorite at home is a little bit surprising. Regardless, the big news here is Tyrese Halliburton still out for the Pacers. Again, this is a team on a back-to-back. No injury report is out yet, so this is a situation we have to keep an eye on. As long as TJ McConnell starts, he's going to be probably your best point guard on this slate in terms of just point per dollar value. There's obviously tons of guards, and when you're seeing this type of ownership on a 10 gamer, there's merit to going elsewhere in tournaments. But it's just going to be really tough to get away from TJ as long as he's in the starting lineup. So, as I often do, I'm going to quickly just click a few of my favorite plays on both sites as we go through so you guys can kind of see how to start your builds this evening. But just keep in mind, with a slate like this, there's going to be news throughout the day. Things could change rapidly. So, this is all kind of with a grain of salt, for lack of a better word. We saw Buddy Hield go off last night. There was no Andrew Nemhard in the lineup. If Nemhard's back, I still do like Hield. I still do like Mathurin. Those two are probably my second and third favorite plays after TJ McConnell. But with Nemhard in, that would hurt their upside just a bit. I would rank Nemhard kind of in that tier with them if he is in here. Miles Turner looks fine. Solid option on both sides. The minutes for him have been inconsistent, but this is a good matchup against Orlando. So really, anyone in that starting lineup for the Pacers, and then Benedict Mathurin, who I expect to come off the bench, is going to look good here. We saw a huge game out of Chris Duarte last night. I think if Nemhard's back, we see him fall out of that starting lineup. But if he is in there, he's going to be someone we can consider his value. So first game on the slate, we're going to have that news. We're going to have the starting lineup. But there is a lot to like for the Pacers, especially TJ McConnell. But if he's over 60%, you could certainly go elsewhere in tournaments. There's going to be plenty of guards in that range that we like. But in cash games, I wouldn't get too cute. Just stick to TJ and probably a few of those other Pacers starters, honestly. Over on the Orlando side of the ball, Chuma Okeke is out. Caleb Houston is out, as is Kevon Harris. Jonathan Isaac returned to game action for the first time in I think 3 years. Last time out, he looked amazing. He only played like 10 minutes and he hit like 20 fantasy points. If we get word here that he's going to play over 20 minutes, I would love to get to some Isaac, but at the same time, I just can't trust him where he's only getting 9-10 minutes, even if he is producing at a super high level. So, Magic, they're another one of these teams. As they get healthy, they're really tough to target because on a given night, it wouldn't surprise me to see Foles, Wagner, Carter, Bonchero go off, but you're going to have trouble knowing who each evening. So I like them here. I wouldn't say there's any major priorities. I do like Bonchero, where he's only 7K flat now on DK, 7,400 on FanDuel. They corrected his price. No one was rostering him when he was up near 8K, but I think they overcorrected a bit. So Paulo Banchero is probably my favorite Magic player here, unless we get word that Jonathan Isaac's going to see 20-ish plus minutes, which I don't think we hear about tonight. So I like Fultz, I like Carter, but is probably my favorite Magic player. And then keep an eye on Isaac. If we start to hear that the minutes cap's going to be lifted, I don't think it's going to be a huge jump tonight, but he's going to be someone we're going to want to target moving forward. So really important game here. It's good it's the first game on the slate. We will have all the news we need for that one. Moving into the 7:30 window, we have the Brooklyn Nets at the 76ers. Starting over on the Brooklyn side, it came out yesterday that KD's progressing from his injury here. but it's an MCL sprain. It's going to take a couple more weeks. They're going to reevaluate. So Kyrie Irving, he's back up at 10K now with KD out of the lineup. I like him on both sides. I think he's a really solid guard play. Totally fine getting to him. I don't know that you have to force him. There's a ton of good payups at guard tonight, so you got options there. But Kyrie's certainly one of them. I like Nick Claxton. He's been excellent. Ben Simmons, Royce O'Neal as secondary options. That's really it for Brooklyn. Philly, not the best matchup, especially if Embiid's in, but that segues into the Philadelphia side of the ball. We do have Joel Embiid listed as questionable. Yeah, Embiid's questionable. Korkmaz is out. That's really only those are the only significant news points we're keeping an eye on. If Embiid's in, it is a great matchup against Brooklyn. I would like him here. Up over 11-4 on both sides. He does look solid. If he's out, James Harden's going to see a nice boost, as will Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris. We've recently seen when Embiid rests that Montrezl Harrell gets to start at center. If that's the case today, Harrell's going to be one of your best value plays on the slate. So we have to keep an eye on this situation here. But as things stand, I do like Embiid. I do like Harden if Embiid is in. Don't mind Maxey or Harris's secondary plays. Really not rushing to either. But if Embiid's out, all the starters are going to see a major boost here in a nice spot against Brooklyn, who does play pretty fast. With Kyrie in the lineup, it also hurts their defense with KD out of the lineup. So just a really good matchup overall for Philly. But yeah, keep an eye on that Embiid news. If he's in, he's good. If he's out, Harrell becomes a major priority. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Atlanta Hawks at the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Hawks are 2-point favorites on the road in OKC. DeAndre Hunter is questionable. Onyeka Okongwu is questionable as well for the Hawks. So they're pretty healthy, all things considered. If Hunter's out, Bogdanovic would see a bit of a boost. I'd like him more here. John Collins, his price feels a bit too low on both sides. 5,800 on DK, 6K flat over on FanDuel. Fine options. I mean, Capella's another center we can consider here. His minutes are inconsistent, but he does have a ceiling at his given price point on both sites. Not someone I'm prioritizing, but someone you can consider. Trae Young looks good. DeJounte Murphy looks good. But yeah, this isn't the soft matchup we maybe thought it might be going into this. Pretty solid. I do like some Hawks pieces here, but I really can't say anything's a major priority as things stand. Um, it would probably be Capella if Okongwu's out, but at the same time, center is probably the most loaded position on the slate, so you don't necessarily have to force that one. On the OKC side of the ball, we have Poku out. Earl. Keep an eye on the starting lineup. Whoever ends up starting at center, whether it be Kenrich Williams, Mike Muscala, James with an I, come. I do like SGA here. 9,800 on DK feels too cheap. Just over 10K on FanDuel. He looks solid there. Josh Giddey, another play I like, just under 8K on both sites. Scoring dependent guard, but he has been consistently hitting value. Lou Dort as well. I think small forward is probably the thinnest position tonight. So where you're getting Lou Dort just over 5K on both sites, he has some appeal there as well. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Nuggets at the Bucks. The Bucks are 8-point favorites at home. No injury report yet for the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic did return last night, but that gives me some pause. I think if they are kind of being careful with him returning from this injury, they could rest him on the second half of a back-to-back. If he's out, all the other starters are going to look excellent here. We saw Michael Porter Jr. out yesterday, dealing with a family tragedy involving his brother in a car accident. I don't know. Regardless, I think MPJ is going to be out tonight, which is a boost for Bruce Brown. It is a boost for Aaron Gordon, even if Jokic is in. If Jokic is out, Murray does become a priority on both sides. Definitely better on DK, where he's only 7,400. But yeah, as things stands, I lean Jokic playing. I don't know that that's a lock. He should be fine, though. But again, they are just bringing him back from an injury, and it is a back-to-back, so keep an eye on that one. But yeah, with MPJ out, I do really like Aaron Gordon. Bruce Brown looks solid here as well. We actually saw Bones Highland ruled out yesterday. If he's out again, that does secure minutes for Brown, Caldwell Pope. So another situation we have to keep an eye on. No major pieces we're forcing as things stand, but this is a really good spot for them against Milwaukee. It should be a competitive game. And if Jokic is out, a ton of usage is going to be there for the starters to soak up. So a situation definitely we need to keep an eye on. On the Milwaukee side of the ball, let's see, no Bobby Portis. Serge Ibaka is out. So this should be a little bit of a boost for Brook Lopez. We are getting Chris Middleton back today, which is going to cut into the usage for all these guys. I still like Giannis here. I think he's one of the better pay-ups on the slate. He's really tough to prioritize until we get more value to open up throughout the day. But with Middleton coming back, I'm a little bit less interested in Drew as he's still priced pretty, I don't know, aggressively for lack of a better word, because Middleton has been out of the lineup. We've seen Giannis missing a few games, so that price is inflated on Drew. I probably wouldn't get to him here. I do like Brook Lopez. I think with Portis out, he could see a little bit of a bump in his minutes, but again, with Middleton coming back, it's kind of a moot point. So Milwaukee looks good here. Giannis is always a strong option, but there's nothing here you necessarily have to force. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Timberwolves at the Pelicans. The Pelicans are 2.5-point favorites at home. Let's see the total, 229.5-point game total here. So decent game total. Still no Karl Anthony Towns, no surprise there. Rudy Gobert is listed as questionable. Jordan McLaughlin's out and Taurean Prince is out. So if Gobert's in, he's fine. I like him on both sides. He's someone you could certainly consider. If he's out and Naz Reid gets to start at center, Naz Reid becomes one of the more appealing value plays on the slate, especially on DK where he's only 4,700. The price is up on Anthony Edwards. He's over 9K on both sides now. A little bit tougher to get to for sure. With Taurean Prince out, though, I do really like Kyle Anderson. He's priced up over on FanDuel at 6,200, but that 5,800 on DK looks really good to me. And really, I mean, you're getting the multi-positional eligibility with him. So now that his minutes are more secure, I do think he's one of the better wing options we have on the slate. So I'll be getting to some Kyle Anderson. I haven't really penciled anyone in a bit. Probably not my favorite play as things stand, but I don't want to completely go over these games without adding anyone. So I'm going to drop Anderson in on both sides as someone I really like. But no major surprises there. D'Angelo Russell is certainly cheaper than Anthony Edwards, not quite as high of a ceiling, but a really solid option given his price point, sub 7K. Jaden McDaniels I'd be considering here as well, and you could even go to Jalen Noel as kind of a punt at guard if you're desperate for value. But as things stand, he's really not a priority. Again, if Gobert's out, Naz Reid becomes one of the better plays on the slate, so we have to keep an eye on that news. But yeah, if Gobert is in, I think he's fine, but there'd be no major priorities for Minnesota other than maybe Kyle Anderson starting with Taurean Prince out of the lineup. So on the Pelican side of the ball, they're on a back-to-back, so we're still waiting on their injury report. But we did get word from Shams that Brandon Ingram's going to be returning tonight. He had a toe injury. I think he's going to probably get close to his full minutes. We'll see. But with Ingram coming back, that's going to cut into the usage for McCollum. It's going to make guys like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and Najee Marshall all less appealing. Joe Val's still fine as a center. Pretty boom bust, inconsistent minutes, inconsistent production, but a very, very high ceiling for that price point. So with Ingram coming back, there's really nothing I'm rushing to get to here for the Pelicans. If we get word he has no minutes limit, though, that 7,500 price on FanDuel does look very appealing. So keep an eye on that. Hopefully we get news on how many minutes Ingram is going to be allowed to run here. But another situation we got to keep an eye on. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Washington Wizards at the Houston Rockets. The Rockets are 3-point underdogs at home, hosting the Wizards. 231.5-point game total here. The Wizards are in a back-to-back. Kristaps Porzingis missed yesterday. If he's out again today, which I imagine he will be, that's going to provide a boost to Kyle Kuzma more than anyone. Also Bradley Beal, Daniel Gafford. They did just trade Rui Hachimura out, so I think Kendrick Nunn got a few minutes last night. Let me check his game log quickly. 10-game slate. I told myself I wouldn't be doing any game log clicking. Most of my research was done before the video, but yeah, not someone I'm rushing to. And Kendrick Nunn, he didn't play last night. I don't know that he's going to be a rotational piece for this team moving forward. But Kuzma, pretty terrible last night in this situation with KP out of the lineup. I think a lot of people thought he'd do really well there. He did not, but he's getting a much softer matchup here, and I imagine lower ownership because he burnt a lot of people yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and pencil in Kuzma as someone I really like. I also really like Bradley Beal. There is a chance we see Beal rest on the back-to-back, but if he's in, that 7,200 price on DK is very, very appealing. So there is a lot to like with these Wizards. Again, Daniel Gafford, another center we can consider. Really like the 4,700 price over on DK. Actually, I like it enough to probably click him here on DraftKings. Sub 5K is just wrong with KP out of the lineup. He's going to see extra usage and rebounding in that very thin front court. So a lot to like for the Wizards. It is a good matchup against the Rockets. The Rockets now transitioning. Let's see here. Still no Kevin Porter Jr., which means this is kind of Alperen Sengun's offense to run. We actually saw Jalen Green go off in a big way last time out. I've been chasing him with KPJ out of the lineup. He finally went off last game. I do like him a lot here. Those are the two major pieces we're considering. Sengun's kind of priced where he should be, up over that 8K tag, and then Jalen Green. I like him on both sites, but guard's loaded. So really nothing we have to force. The one value piece, if you want to call him value, is KJ Martin in that mid-range. We are kind of lacking forward options. He does have small forward and power forward eligibility, I think, on both sites. So KJ Martin, another option I do like here a lot tonight. So we see things kind of filling out, and we haven't even gotten to the 10 o'clock window yet. So certainly a lot to like on this slate. Moving into that 10 o'clock window now, we got a bunch of late games tonight. The first one being the Grizzlies at the Warriors. The Warriors are 3.5 point favorites at home. Um, Only Andre Iguodala listed as out for the Warriors, so I can go quickly over them. They're very healthy. This is as healthy as we've seen this team all season. There are good options here, but nothing we have to prioritize. I do like Draymond Green's price. No one seems to want to roster him. We're seeing him at 12 and 14 ownership. Percent ownership respectively between the two sites as things stand, but I could see that being even lower as we get closer to lock. So I do like Dre here. Pretty inconsistent, but he has a high ceiling for that 6K-ish price tag. Curry's obviously fine. We know he has a ceiling. Same with Klay Thompson, Wiggins, Poole. All good options, but none of them are great. This is just another healthy team. And as we have other teams with major injuries, it's obviously tough to get to these teams that are at full strength. On the Grizzlies side of the ball, I think we do have a few injuries. Still no Steven Adams. That's the big one. Danny Green should be back next week, but he's still out. No John Conchar. So John Morant's going to look good everywhere. No surprises there. Another good guard play. We have a ton of them. With Adams out, we have seen a boost in Jackson's production. Obviously, he can get into some foul trouble. So he's a little bit risky, but I do like Jaren Jackson here. Keep an eye on the starting lineup. Um, Last time, a lot of people played Brandon Clark, myself included. Then it got announced that Tillman was the starter. I kind of dampened my Clark ownership, but I was still on way too much. I mean, I like Clark here. I think he's solid. He did get into some foul trouble last time out, even coming off the bench. But if Tillman's the starter, Tillman's the guy you're going to want to get to here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop Tillman into my lineups. I think we get, yeah, he's power forward center, so I don't have time to move all this around, but I would probably move Martin to small forward, Tillman to power forward, and then you still have that center spot over on FanDuel, and then Tillman on DK. He's center only there. So if you want to pull Gafford for him, I totally get that. I could also see playing both and just using those two as value if we don't get more to open up. Those are two of the better value plays on the slate as things stand. So a lot to like in Memphis, especially that front court. Brooks and Bane are fine. I like Bane much more than Brooks, no surprise there, but he's obviously a lot more expensive. Tillman's going to be really solid here, but I do like Clark as kind of a GPP slash tournament pivot. So really like the Memphis side. Don't love the Golden State side, but it is a decent spot. Then we have, let's see here, the Raptors at the Kings. The Kings are 3 point favorites at home, 238 point total here. On the Kings side of the ball, there's no major injury news. It looks like, let's see. Metsu's questionable. He hasn't been seeing a ton of minutes anyway, though, so that's barely a needle mover for me. Really likes Sabonis on both sides. His price hasn't really moved, but he's been consistently over 50 fantasy points. If you can't afford all those great guards I've been talking about, De'Aaron Fox is a little bit cheaper. With similar upside, you just don't see it as often. So I do like Fox here. Barnes is fine as the last man in. Herter's been very productive, and Keegan Murray's price is finally over 4,400 on DK. I do like Keegan Murray on both sides. It's kind of a last man in type. Malik Monk's good in large field tournaments, has a very high ceiling, never draws much ownership, but no major priorities for me from the Sacramento Kings. I do like Sabonis a lot. I do like Herter and Murray, but I wouldn't say any are kind of core or priority plays. Over on the Toronto side of the ball, let's see here. I believe they're pretty healthy. OG and Newton, OG is questionable. Otto Porter's out, no Coloco. So yeah, if OG's out, that's going to boost Siakam, Barnes, Van Fleet, Trent. If OG's in, this is just another one of these healthy teams that it's really tough to know what you want to prioritize on a given night. It is a massive pace up slash beneficial matchup for these guys on the offensive end. I really do like Siakam here. Scotty Barnes is going to look good, especially if OG's out. Van Fleet and Trent, who I just mentioned, I mean, they all look good. Again, no major priorities for me here from Toronto, though. Even if OG's out, I don't know that I'm prioritizing anything. I will say, though, if Precious Achua starts at center again, I think you could go to him. Another good value center play. He has been a little bit inconsistent, but on a slate lacking value, it does make sense to go there, especially on FanDuel, where you're getting him at power forward. Next game on the slate, we have the Utah Jazz at the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are 3.5-point favorites at home. Let's see here. Only Justice Winslow out for Portland, so no major surprises there. Dame's probably my favorite of these pay-up guards. I like him a lot here. He's just not drawing the ownership he probably should. We're seeing him at 6 and 5% on both sites. Just way too low. He's been consistently excellent. Really like Dame here. Nurkic looks good on both sides. Another boom-bust center play who I think has upside, but not someone I'd ever be prioritizing on such a big slate with so many good value options at center. Grant, Hart, Simons, all fine as secondary plays. Drew Eubanks is kind of a last-minute value punt. Whenever Nurkic gets in trouble, he seems to have pretty good games. So I could see getting him into large field tournaments. But for me, the one priority here is Dame Lillard. But there are a lot of good pay-ups on the slate, so I could see going elsewhere. But for me, Dame against Utah, that's probably my favorite spot for any of these guards. Outside of maybe Harden if Embiid's out, and obviously Kyrie has no KD, so similar play there. But I do like Dame at low ownership. Over on the Utah side of things, let's see here. No Kelly Olynyk still, and that's really the only major piece of news. Markkanen looks good on both sites, but his price is up. I think he's a fine play, not someone I'd be prioritizing. Walker Kessler starting with Olynyk out of the lineup. Again, a good play, but his price is up, so just tough to prioritize. Don't mind Jordan Clarkson. Mike Conley's probably my favorite of the Jazz just because of the price. He's sub 6K on both sites, consistently hitting value. You could get to Malik Beasley, Colin Sexton, Jared Vanderbilt as secondary plays. None are priorities, though. I do really like Kessler here. Don't love the price, but I do think Mike Conley's probably my favorite Utah Jazz option just because he is sub 6K and in a good matchup against Portland. So moving into the 10:30 window now. Last game on the slate. Made really good time today. Once again, thanks everybody for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. We have the San Antonio Spurs at the Los Angeles Lakers. 5.5-point favorites at home are the Los Angeles Lakers. No injury report yet. They are on a back-to-back. We saw LeBron James go off last night in the loss. He had, I think, 75 or 80 fantasy points. I mean, if he's in, he's going to look good here. The one thing we have to keep in mind, though, is Anthony Davis is back tonight. So Anthony Davis being back is going to cut into the usage of everybody else. The issue, though, with playing him tonight is he's probably going to be limited to around 20 minutes. So just under 11K, I really can't get there knowing that he's going to be limited. I don't mind LeBron if he's in, but over 11K on both sites, if AD is going to be on the floor with him for 20 minutes, I just don't like him as much. So keep an eye on this. I have a feeling LeBron does end up resting on the back-to-back, which would make not AD, but Schroeder, Westbrook, Bryant, all kind of interesting plays here. Rui Hachimura will be making his Lakers debut. I probably wouldn't get to him unless he's starting, and he's definitely more appealing over on DK at 4,300, but something to keep an eye on. If they're going to slide him into the starting lineup, I don't know that they do. I think they would if LeBron is out, then he's going to be an interesting play at very low ownership. I don't think anyone likes playing guys first game off a trade, which I generally don't either, but if LeBron's out, we could see some nice run for Rui here in his first game as a Laker, so no priorities. We do expect AD back tonight, which is going to hurt all these guys. They're all kind of priced up as though AD is still out. On the Spurs side of things, no Devin Vassell. Romeo Langford's questionable. No Charles Bassey. So Keldon Johnson's the best play here. He has been consistently with Vassell out of the lineup. Some nights he just doesn't show up, but at just over 7K, I do like him on both sites. Trey Jones is seeing increased usage with Vassell still out. I think he's fine as a guard. There's a lot of good guard plays on the slate, though. Don't know that we need to prioritize him. Really like the rookie Jeremy Sochan at just 4,800 on DK. He's shown he has a pretty high ceiling, and with Vassell out, he is seeing more usage. Don't mind Jakob Poeltl, another center who I feel like we've listed 10 of. Pretty low floor, but pretty high ceiling. He's just priced at a point where you would like to get to him at least a little bit in tournaments, knowing that upside. So no major priorities for me here. I do like Keldon. Zach Collins as a backup center, he's going to see minutes with Charles Bassey still out. 3,600 on DK. I could see using him as a punt, but he's really no sort of priority. And again, Jeremy Sochan, probably my favorite Spur here. He's also shown to be game script immune, which means in blowouts he's still getting run, which is obviously helpful. So yeah, just to kind of take a general look over the slate, we started with TJ McConnell, Kyle Anderson, Kuzma, Martin, Tillman. That's kind of the core that I've used over on FanDuel. We're seeing similar on DK. I did mention I do really like Dame here. He's probably my favorite pay up guard. I wouldn't fault anyone for going to Kyrie as a pivot, maybe SGA or Morant as well. But for me, Dame just feels like the best guard play tonight in facing Utah at very low ownership. We have a lot of news to keep an eye on. Obviously, if Embiid's out, Harden's going to become that better play. I would prefer him over Dame. Pretty easy pivot to make, and that's one of the earlier games on the slate, so we should have that news. I'm just quickly sorting by value on both sites, seeing what pops up. Tillman, he's way up there, no surprise. DeLon Wright, proceed with caution on him. The Wizards are kind of mixing up their rotations now that they have Kendrick Nunn. I mean, with KP out, this is great. If Beal is out, I would feel a lot better about getting to DeLon Wright, but as things stand, just not a priority for me. I do like Gafford. I do like Denny, even if Denny's coming off the bench. He's shown he does have a pretty high ceiling. Similar value on FanDuel, I'm guessing, taking a quick look. Jonathan Isaac's really popping towards the top. We're going to need word that he's going to see more than 15, 20 minutes for me to want to get to him here. He's obviously a great fantasy point per minute producer, but if he's not even playing 10 minutes, I just can't trust someone like that, even at the very cheap price tag. So plenty to keep an eye on here. A lot of good pay up options. We do have Jokic, who is questionable. I'm guessing he plays, but if he's out, obviously those Denver starters are all going to look great. We like Giannis, but Middleton's back tonight. We like LeBron, but AD's back tonight. So I'm falling on a lot of these guards in the upper to mid range. Do really like Sabonis as well. But yeah, really fun slate tonight. Once again, please like the video. Also subscribe to the channel so we can get more free content like this out to you. If you're not already a member of Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. My name is Nick Marro. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Let's have some fun tonight, everyone, and make some money. Good luck.